I'm Maria Roser, and I'm in 11th grade. And I'm Stephanie Roser, and I'm in 11th grade.
And do you think they're related? Do they look alike a little?
They look like twins.
Good guess. Excellent.
One day it so happened that when she held out her little hand to catch the golden ball, the ball fell to the ground and rolled straight into the water. The princess followed the ball with her eyes, but the spring was so deep she couldn't find the bottom. She began to cry. A wise person once said, "Sometimes people don't understand the promises they're making when they make them, but they keep them anyway. That's what love is." In this story, a princess makes a promise to a frog, and she has to keep it. The Frog King or Iron Heinrich by Brothers Grimm. In olden times, there lived a king and his beautiful daughter. When the weather was very hot, the princess would go to the forest and sit on the edge of a cool spring and play with her golden ball. She would throw it up in the air and catch it. It was her favorite plaything.
What's the matter, princess?
The princess looked around to see where the voice came from and saw a frog sticking his big ugly head out of the water. "Oh, it's you old splasher. I'm crying because my ball has fallen into the spring."
Well, stop crying. I think I can help you. But what will you give me if I fetch your plaything?
"Anything you like, dear frog. My clothes, my beads and jewels, even the golden crown I'm wearing."
I don't want your clothes, your beads and jewels, or your crown. But if you will love me, if you will be my companion and playmate, and let me eat from your golden plate, and drink from your golden cup, and sleep in your bed, if you will promise me that, then I will fetch you your plaything.
"Oh yes, anything you like, as long as you'll bring me my ball." But she thought, "What nonsense this silly frog talks. He lives in the water and croaks with other frogs. How can he be a companion to anybody?" Once the frog had her promise, he stuck his head under the water and dived down. After a little while, he came up with the golden ball and tossed it on the grass. The princess saw that he got the golden ball and was so happy she just ran away with it.
Wait, take me with you. I can't run like you.
But there was no use. The princess kept running, and there was nothing the poor frog could do but just sit in his spring. The next day, the princess was eating dinner with the king and his courtiers. While they were eating, something went plip-plop up the marble steps, and it knocked on the door.
Princess, let me in.
The princess went to go see who was at the door. She opened the door and saw it was the frog. She was so frightened she slammed the door shut and ran back and tried to eat. The king saw that her heart went a pit-a-pat and said, "What's the matter, my child? Has a giant come to take you away?" "Oh no, father, no giant, just a nasty frog." "What does the frog want of you?" "Yesterday, father dear, while I was playing near the spring with my ball fell in the water. Because I was crying, the frog got it for me. And because he insisted, I promised he could be my companion. But I never thought he'd get out of the spring, and now he's outside and he wants to come in after me." The frog knocked a second time and said,
Princess, let me in. Don't you remember what you promised at the cool spring yesterday? Princess, let me in.
Then the king said, "When you make a promise, you must keep it. Just go let him in." The princess went and let the frog in, and he followed close at her heels.
Lift me up beside you.
The princess didn't know what to do, but she obeyed the king. She lifted him up on the chair, and once he was on the chair, he wanted to be at the table. Once he was on the table, he said,
I'm hungry. I want to eat from your plate. Push your plate up closer to me.
The princess did what she was told, but she wasn't happy about it.
I've had enough to eat and now I'm tired. No, bring me up to your room and prepare your silken bed so I can sleep.
The princess was afraid of the cold frog. She didn't dare touch him, and now he wanted to sleep in her lovely clean bed. But the king grew very angry and said, "He helped you when you were in trouble. You mustn't despise him now." The princess picked him up between thumb and forefinger and carried him upstairs. When they got to her room, she put him in the corner and lay down to sleep. The frog crawled over and said,
I want to sleep like you do. Pick me up or I'll tell your father.
The princess became very angry, picked him up, and dashed him against the wall with all her might. "Now you'll get your rest, you nasty frog." When the frog fell to the floor, he wasn't a frog any longer. He was a king's son with beautiful smiling eyes. At her father's bidding, he made Anne her dear companion and husband. He told her that,
A witch put a curse on me, and no one but you could have saved me from the spring. Tomorrow we will go to my kingdom.
They fell asleep, and in the morning a carriage drove up. Behind the carriage was the king's faithful servant, faithful Heinrich. Iron Heinrich had been so sad when his master was turned into a frog, he had 3 iron bands forged around his heart to keep it from bursting with grief and sadness. The carriage drove up to take the young couple back to the king's kingdom. The young couple got in, and Iron Heinrich sat in the back, overjoyed that his master had been set free. A little ways down the road, the prince heard a cracking sound as if something had broken. The prince cried out,
Heinrich, the carriage is falling apart.
Oh no, master, it's just an iron ring I had forged around my heart to keep it from bursting when you were struck by cruel magic and turned into a frog. Once again and yet once again, the cracking noise was heard, and each time the prince thought it was the carriage falling apart, but it was only the bands snapping and falling away from faithful Heinrich's heart, because he knew his master had been set free and was happy.